will make it a lot.
It would. 1900. Let's go low end, 25%. So 1900 times 0.25. So we're doing the math. Shadrach, what is it? 475. There's 4 calories per gram for protein. So divide that by 4 for me. So my protein goal is 118 grams per day. Okay. So regardless, maybe you don't know what your calorie goal is right now. You go home, you do a little bit of math. You can use a calorie calculator online. You can use your bod pod recommendations. You take that total calories, low end 25%, divide it by 4, you get your grams of protein. Anybody know what their protein goals are? We're aiming for a certain amount. What are you thinking? Do you know what your calorie goal is right now, based on your last bod pod?
I would say around 2,000.
Okay, so you kind of know where you need to be sitting based on the math we did for 1900. I would make it bare minimum 115 grams of protein a day. Could be yours. You want to do the math on yours?
Where's my number?
So down here, you've got to decide how active you are. So as a teacher, you're kind of on your feet. How many days a week are you working out here?
We're just working out in general part 4.
4. So I would go, how many steps a day would you say that you get with your job? 1,200 or 12,000? Okay. So I would go somewhere between low active and active.
Okay.
And then your goals are weight loss. So I'm going to subtract anywhere from 250 to 500 calories from here. So let's go 2,000 to 2,100. You're going to bare minimum times 0.25 divide by 4. So you're actually going to be pretty close to this 118. Here's the thing with protein though, I always recommend eating in ranges. You're not going to exactly hit this, right? So 110 to maybe 125 is your goal. So that could be an appropriate one for you. Any questions from home on calculating your protein needs? So feeling full and satisfied, building muscle, put on mass, all reasons why we need enough protein. Any questions? Okay. How do you think you're doing with protein?
Protein's not just meat, right?
Let's talk about where protein comes from. Animal meats, dairy products, eggs, supplements. Got some of those right here. So those they come from. Okay. I don't know if somebody had a question from home.
Any questions from home yet? Good right now.
None? Okay.
That's it.
In terms of protein supplements, since we've got some on the floor here, I don't recommend getting more than half of your protein supplement. The goal is 120 grams of protein a day. I wouldn't do more than 60 grams of protein from supplements.
How much protein are those kind of things?
Those are 30, I think, yeah. So you can do 2 of those a day. Good to go. All right, so key number 2 kind of ties into key number 1. Hey, y'all. Consistent meal times. I recommend 3 meals a day because if you're trying to eat high protein, it is very difficult to get all your protein in just 1 or 2 meals. So if you're kind of a meal skipper here and there, it's very hard to nail this key number 1. So meal times it is. This also makes it easier to break up your protein throughout the day. Because if you eat 3 meals a day and our goal is the 110 to 120, we can much easier break this up. 30, 60, 90, 1 snack, maybe a protein drink. We just nailed it. Any questions on meal?
I have a question.
Something easy to like make in the morning when you have like school. So
Okay, let's brainstorm some meal ideas. So knowing where protein's coming from, animal meats, supplements, dairy products, eggs. Eggs are very common for breakfast. Who makes breakfast for you? You?
Yeah.
Parents?
Breakfast.
Run out the door without it? Okay. Let's be realistic then. Something like some dry cereal and one of those protein drinks would cover your carbs, which we're not talking about tonight, and your protein. Breakfast burrito from the freezer. Those usually run about 20 grams of protein. If you get the turkey sausage ones, that would be a good out the door. You like yogurt or cottage cheese? Okay. A lot of people don't. I will say, if you don't like it, try the large curd cottage cheese rather than the small. I find it does taste different. I don't know why, it just does, but cottage cheese or yogurt and some fruit. So that gives you several ideas. And that would, yeah.
We got a question.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Ronnie?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you have a take on whey protein versus like a vegan or a pea protein for a high level athlete, or does it
Do
matter?
you follow a vegetarian or vegan diet?
I mean, no.
Okay. I would recommend sticking with the whey protein supplements. They tend to run a little bit higher per serving, and it's honestly a little bit better bang for your buck. The vegan proteins and the plant-based proteins, one, I don't think they taste as good. I find that people have a harder time getting them in. And two, you got to use a lot per serving to get higher protein.
Gotcha.
Does that help?
Yeah, that helps.
Any other questions? So you ask about kind of the convenient meals out the door. Any of them I listed doable for you all?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So even as a teacher or you're in the car, I think all of those could be eaten while you're driving or riding. Do you guys drive? Okay, I'm not recommending that people under 18 eat and drive, but I know y'all are doing it anyway.
No McGriddles from McDonald's anymore?
Well,
I had my first one.
What's my first one?
And what?
Now his life has changed.
wow.
No.
So let's talk about eating out because you got to run through the drive-through. Chicken minis got brought up, McGriddles. Not to say that they can't fit, but what I recommend is look for some lean protein sources. What I mean by that is instead of like a fatty sausage or bacon on that sandwich, maybe you could choose a turkey sausage if they have that available, and eggs. A lot of places have egg white options as well. It's going to lower the fat. So maybe to your question.
I don't get eggs, man. I just get bacon.
I would ask, do you like eggs?
So not the best part of it, not the.
Boost the protein as the egg. Do you like eggs?
I don't like their eggs.
Gotcha. Yeah, they are.
That folded egg is. just
Yeah,
not-
some people are like, there's something sketchy about that. Maybe you could do sausage instead of bacon. It would likely be higher protein. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on meal times? Anybody doing fasting here that we need to discuss? Were you doing just 1 or 2 meals per day?
I don't skip meals, but,
Yeah,
I
good.
try not to eat past 7. It messes with my sleep.
Okay.
My question a lot of
7 to
times
11
is
a lot
like
of
for
times.
like the clients who work out at 5 or 6 a.m. that don't have any calories in them at all. Like, what would you recommend for somebody that doesn't like? I mean, they're getting up for a 5 a.m. person. They're probably getting up at 4 or something. Like,
Right, so your first true meal isn't coming until several hours later.
Mhm.
Ideally, it's within 1 hour finished in the workout, but we all know how that goes once you leave here.
Sure.
Quick carbs before the workout, and I know you preach this to them. Quick carbs meaning quick energy, so something like dry cereal that I mentioned, even a small piece of fruit, fruit snacks. What PB&J would be okay. I would go light on the peanut butter. That higher fat is going to sit on your stomach a little bit longer, so you can do something.
I know how to peanut butter.
That would be fine. The honey is gonna be quick carbs for you, so yeah, that's fine. Just some people like their peanut butter sandwich real thick, and then some people
Yeah,
like a little. And I live with somebody who likes their peanut butter this thick, so I'm like,
Peanut butter though? They must like that.
they do. Yes, I'm like, I can't watch you eat that. I can't watch you eat that kind of sandwich, but quick carbs that early. And I think you still have the handout down there
Yeah.
before your workout, so check that out, take a picture of it. People at home, they work out in here, check out the handout as you're coming in the door, because it's got some good quick sources before you work out. So think quick carbs, quick energy.
So do you agree with the fasting, the 6 to 6, 7 to 7, the 12-hour window?
Whatever works for you. The reason I asked if anybody was doing it is because oftentimes I see people struggle to hit their protein when they're just doing 1 or 2 meals a day. It's very hard to hit the higher protein levels when you're doing that. So I recommend 3 meals a day. Okay, any questions so far?
Is dairy bad? Is that, or is it a myth? Should I be drinking almond milk or?
Do you have a sensitivity or intolerance to dairy? Okay, I would go with the
I've been
regular
drinking
dairy product. Yep, I would go back to that because almond milk is not a good source of protein.
Really?
No.
Oh.
If you need
Yeah,
a,
that's all I get over there.
if you need a low, if you need a low calorie beverage, it's helpful in that sense. But if you check the protein content on a lot of these nut milks, it's not there. If you prefer plant-based milks, soy milk is gonna have more protein. It's more closely similar to cow's milk, like 8 grams of protein for an 8-ounce glass.
So no oat milk either?
If you like it and that's your preference, that's fine, but just know it's not giving you protein. You gotta get your protein somewhere else. So if you don't have a sensitivity or intolerance, I recommend sticking with regular dairy. So regular yogurt, cottage cheese, cow's milk, because it's gonna help you hit your protein. If you're trying to manage your weight, choose low fat and non-fat dairy. Good question. Because there's definitely the myth floating around like,
It's like
dairy.
Almond milk.
Inflammatory.
Yeah. It
You
seems
think it's like some almond milk yogurt too?
yeah. It seems like.
Loaded with added sugar, very little protein.
I had,
Because they don't taste good by themselves, so they have to replace it with flavor from somewhere. Any questions?
yes, so I'm asked these for a boot camper. His question is, hold on. He says like, beyond working out, what else can you do to lose fat? So I guess he's looking at his bod pod fat versus muscle.
Mhm.
That was his first question. The next question was, what's my best way to schedule my daily eating to burn fat? Is that a thing?
Schedule daily eating to lose fat. Well, one, start with your recommended calorie amount. So if he has a bod pod, point him in the direction of the bottom there. If he's trying to lose body fat, he needs to be in a calorie deficit. So subtract anywhere from 250 to 500 calories from that total.
Mhm.
And his other question was, aside from working out, what could he do?
To lose fat.
Be in a calorie deficit and prioritize protein.
Okay.
If I had to choose 2 things, it would be that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, if he's eating more than what his bod pod is saying he's burning, then that's the first place to start. So maybe he could start with tracking his foods for 3 days in a row on MyFitnessPal and getting an idea of what his current intake looks like.
Mhm.
And then, whoa, I'm way over. Let me subtract and revisit my bod pod recommendations.
Cool.
Yeah. Good source of protein, lean protein, especially chicken and their beef options. And then we're not talking about carbs tonight, but they've got a lot of fiber-rich carbs, like their corn salsa, their rice, their beans, that good stuff. So yeah. Mhm.
Is there a such thing as eating too much protein? Does your body?
Limited absorption.
Exactly.
No, actually, there was a study done on this. Somebody could really sit down and consume as much protein as they physically could stomach, and their body would still be able to utilize it.
One take?
Yep. I don't know anybody that can sit down and eat 100 grams of protein. I mean, maybe if you sit down for a good hour.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh yeah.
are the outlier, you're right. Of course, it's you. Okay, so aside from Larry, the rest of us can't sit down and eat 100+ grams of protein, but your body can utilize it. So don't be afraid to load up if you're sitting down for a 50-gram protein meal. That was definitely a myth that went on for a long time, but your body will use it. So, anything else? Good questions tonight.
I have a question, Larry.
Yes.
So I find it very hard to eat post-workout. What are some food recommendations? Sometimes when I have protein shakes, they kind of upset my stomach. So I'm not sure what I could, take in after a workout.
I would recommend starting with some simple carbs. And what I mean by that would be something like your dry cereal, a small piece of fruit, or
Okay.
a slice of bread, and get that down first and give yourself 15-20 minutes and see if you can tolerate something like your protein shake or adding in more protein like eggs, cottage cheese, yogurt, whatever you might be having if it's breakfast, post-workout. But start with the simple carbs. Just to give yourself, your body is, if you went through an intense workout, some people experience some GI upset. So start with the simple carbs.
Okay, thank you.
I know that's kind of the opposite of what you hear, hit the protein first post-workout, but for you, it's a little bit different.
Gotcha.
Good question. Okay, anything else on these two topics?
Hey, I got homework, guys. Thank you.
Homework?
Yes.
Good luck. Good to see ya.
See y'all later.
All right. It's due at 11:59. Is that what you said? Nice. All right. Third key here, if you want to get the most out of your training plan to gain weight, lose weight, you got to make sure you're staying hydrated. If you're not recovering between workouts, I hear from Larry a lot, my clients struggling. Clearly early fatigue. It might be a nutrition issue, but also might be like a hydration issue. So make sure you're really getting hydrated before your workout and after. Don't wait to chug your water before you come in. Nothing worse than going to practice and you got water jiggling around in your stomach. You're probably going to the trash can. So I would really make this a focus for your all's challenge over the next several weeks. If you struggle with water, especially in winter when it gets harder to drink water, hit the fluids early. So I like to use the rule of thumb. First thing when you wake up, anybody drink coffee or caffeine, energy drink, all the things?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, you got the almond milk and all that going.
Yeah.
Uh,
Starbucks, they might as well give me some now.
So your new goal is you're gonna ask for 16 ounces of water with your coffee. 16 ounces of water before any caffeine. That's a great way to boost your fluids to get started for the day. So something as simple as this 16.9 bottle right here, you get it down. You hop out of bed and you're,
Oh, that's,
Yeah,
I do,
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah.
So, okay.
When they talk about like a gallon of water a day, is that real?
That's really not something I recommend for just on average, somebody, you and I working out several days a week. If you're an intense athlete, you're sweating a lot, you're working out for 2-3 hours a day. That might be where you need a gallon, but for majority of the public, no. You can actually overhydrate and flush your electrolytes out. So people get nauseous or get a headache.
Okay.
That would be a sign of
You just always
overhydration.
see people walking around with their jugs and those nice, like,
Mhm.
almost, you're almost
Yeah,
there.
tell you
Yeah.
what.
I was just wondering if
They're
I was
like,
just,
oh, you're not in
real
for
stuff, right, but they're not even working.
They
out.
might,
I'm just like
oh,
regular.
they're not even working out. So good reference for your fluids. Take your body weight,
Body weight.
divide by 2. Bare minimum in ounces of water.
Is that
Okay.
changed if you're taking creatine?
Not necessarily. You guys, what sports do you play?
Football and baseball.
And so you're in training for baseball right now. Practices have already started. So you guys are a little bit different. You're athletes, you need more than this bare minimum amount. Creatine, just because you're taking creatine doesn't necessarily drive your water needs up. But just because you are working out for longer periods of time and sweating more, that's why I would recommend more than this bare minimum.
So if I'm 165, what?
Bare minimum 80-ish ounces. How many hours a day you working out or training or practice?
Like 2 to 3.
2 to 3, 5 days a week? Any weeks where you go over 5 days? Okay. I would look at it
Try not
more
to.
like 110, 115, 120 ounces, but I still wouldn't recommend a gallon for you guys. You could try it and see if you experience overhydration, nausea, or headache.
Someone asked is whey protein dairy based?
Some people with dairy sensitivity may experience issues with whey. So some of them, but not all of them. For example, I wish I had in my lunchbox. Muscle milks are a milk protein concentrate. So those muscle milk supplement drinks, but like Premier Protein uses a different type of whey protein. So it just depends.
Okay,
But if they're a vegan or vegetarian, they're not going to want to consume whey.
okay.
If they want to provide context, maybe I can be more specific.
Do you have a recommended creatine brand?
Vitamin Shop, GNC, the generic brands are fine. Wherever you're buying your supplements from, just make sure third-party tested, good manufacturing practices. And even like the top certifications for supplements, is where they test them in a lab to pass for like athletes in pro sports where they have to drug test. It's NSF certification. Yeah, but Vitamin Shop and GNC for the rest of us. Any questions about creatine since it's come up twice? Myth with creatine is that you have to have a loading phase. No.
What's the loading?
Some of the recommendations are like you start with a small amount of the scoop for a certain period of time, when you slowly increase, you can start with the full amount. The most important thing with creatine is that you take it every day. You can't do a little here, a little there.
My science teacher said it stunts your growth.
That's what they say about caffeine, though.
Yeah, I heard that about coffee.
Science teacher, you could ask him for the research or the science where he's pulling it from.
Yeah.
Is that
Your source.
stunting growth and supplements, that could be a whole other rabbit hole, but usually for athletes under 18, I recommend limit supplement use, especially if you're using a combo of like creatine, mass builders, protein, other protein drinks. I see some wild things making in the mix of young athletes, so I would just make sure you're not using too many supplements. That's the biggest thing. I see you roll your eyes at starting to grow. No comment?
I was gonna ask how tall.
Oh. How old are
I
you?
can see some comments.
You probably are just about done with your height, I would say. I mean, some may argue that they've grown more inches over 18, but not many people. So I'd say you're good, you're 18. Any questions at home? So our 3 keys for the challenge: protein, consistent meal times, and fluids. The biggest mistake I see people make with their nutrition is putting their hands in too many pots, meaning they've got their focus all over the place. And when we are trying to practice all the things, we don't do a couple of things really well. So that's why I really like to dial in and work on a couple of things at a time. So if you're unsure where to start with your nutrition or need help, these are great places to start.
For the people who are trying to gain weight, good weight, you want them to be at a surplus or?
Yeah.
And that's one question. I think the other question is for, if you don't want, like, if we give everybody their bod pod sheet and we give them the calories, how can they be at a surplus without counting their calories? What's a good, like, what would you tell that?
More frequent meal times would be helpful. So like 3 meals, 2 snacks, because 2 snacks at 200 to 300 calories each would be a 500 to 600 calorie surplus on their day easily without much thought. So that's what I would start with. 3 meals, 2 snacks. Look at your snacks more closely, 200 to 300 calories.
And what's the architecture of those snacks?
Ideally, protein,
Sure.
fiber-rich carbohydrates, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and then healthy fats. So nuts and seeds, peanut butters, almond butters. I don't know, many people using cooking oils in their snacks, but if you're using like a dip for veggies or something, a low-fat dressing. Just so you're not driving up the saturated fats, which are fats we want to limit. So obviously, there's lots of rabbit holes that we can get down. If you have questions, send me an email, find me on social, send me a DM, happy to connect, all that good stuff. And then I'll hang out for a little bit if anybody has specific questions to them. Thank you. Thank y'all. Ayana, do you have anything from home?
No, I do not. Thank you, though.
You're welcome.
Ooh.
Okay, I'll hang out.
All right, Ayana, thanks for jumping in. I'll catch up with you
Thanks.
soon.
Have a great night, guys.
All right.